Hi, my name is Gigi, and I made a few comments and you responded to me quickly. Thank you. I have a few things to say. I am a progressive liberal. I want exactly what you want in your rant. In fact, most of us do. But I'm going to tell you why it's not happening. And I'm going to try to make it fast. This is my very first video, so be patient. There will be more, and I will actually be in them. But I just woke up in the middle of the night, so this is what you get. This is a graph, okay? I'm going to get to that in a minute. I'm going to try to address all your issues. Republicans, psychopaths, absolutely. They meet almost all the requirements, except one thing. They don't use or understand facts or logic. And the typical psychopath tends to be bright and does use facts. But everything else is psychopathic 100%. And this could be some deviation of what a psychopath is. The reason I know is I do many things, design products, I do research on human behavior, not psychology, but neuroscience, actually looking at the brain. And I'm also a mathematician and really good with science. And I have, in the last 5 years, been examining politics and how this works. Because as I saw, the Republicans acted just like psychopaths. And so this drew me in, and I wanted to find out what was going on. Okay. The first 2 years, yes, Obama had the Congress. Did you know he also had a majority in the Senate? But if you look at this chart, there's a thing called the filibuster. Do you see it's flat in the beginning? And then there's spikes. Okay. For all of history, it was flat. That meant 1 or 2 filibusters were used. Now, when Obama took office, 345 bills for the people, for jobs, for every nationality you could think of, for everybody who is unfairly treated, for workers, for you name it. I mean, more even than in your rant is in those bills. 345 of them. But they also have to pass the Senate. And you think, well, yeah, but we had a majority in the Senate. Okay, here's where the filibuster came in. Those spikes that you see, that's how the filibuster was abused 345 times instead of 1 or 2 times a session. And by who? By the other party, the party psychopath. What that means is when they say filibuster, it means the only way to get them to now take a vote and to make a bill pass is instead of 51 votes, we need 60. And we did not have 60 Democrats in the Senate. We needed to have 3 or 4 Republicans pass over. And on 345 bills, they said, no, fuck you. We'd rather talk about abortion and legitimate rape and a bunch of shit. That's why nothing happened during the first 2 years. Bailout. Bailout was started by Bush. It was done entirely wrong. Agreed. The President Obama was not necessarily our first choice. But he's also not the person that you think he is, which is an asshole. He's not that. Naive, yes. Okay? So he let things get out and money go to places, and it was not handled as it should have been. None of that money should have gone for any bonuses for people who stole money like crazy. And it should have gone to the right people. So I'm in agreement on that. MSNBC. The pundits there feel the exact same way I do. But guess what? MSNBC is owned by a corporation. Do you know what corporation that is? GE. GE, the one who paid 0 in taxes and got a rebate check for several $100 billion. That's who owns MSNBC. So guess what? What do you think will happen if a pundit on MSNBC says everything you say? Do you think they will be on air the next day? Think about it, man. Warmongering, murder, and Wall Street puppet. Okay, he is stopping the bills. I mean, the war, and he is sending them back, much to the disagreement of the psychopath party. No, drones not a good idea. Agreed. I don't know what's going on with that. Maybe he's too docile. Maybe he's a conservative defensive and regarding defense. I don't know, but that's wrong. Wall Street puppet. Okay. He knew how strong that Wall Street has influence. So he was known in Harvard as the compromiser, the one who got two parties together. The only problem is if the other party is psychopaths, there is no compromise. You don't give them olive branches. You smack them around and you say, no goddamn way. Okay? Still doesn't matter. They got that filibuster in the Senate. So that screwed things up. Taxing the rich. Okay, you may not know this, but wealthy individuals pay 11% on average in taxes. That's if they pay taxes at all. Corporations pay an average of 4%, and that's if they pay taxes at all. The reason? The psychopath party put in so many deductions and loopholes that people really aren't aware of that only apply to them, which means that 35% on the marginal tax schedule, that actually gets applied to only the amount of income after the deductions, which brings their actual rate that they pay down to 11% for individuals and 4% for corporations. My idea? That they all pay 30% like the rest of us. Real 30% when they write that check out to the IRS. Now, does it make a difference? Hell, yes it does. It covers the $1.2 trillion deficit, and it leaves us with $0.8 trillion or $800 billion in surplus. Okay? Makes a huge difference, and it covers Wall Street, like you talked about. The big three. I don't know any progressives that want the big three on that table, but I have and I use math to prove it. First of all, they don't pay enough in taxes to even be using the roads or the bridges that they use for their tankers and the individuals for their luxury cars. And if I had my way, I would just go over and haul their cars off of our goddamn streets that we paid for. And because they don't pay enough in taxes, they are not paying for any of that money that goes to welfare even. So they have nothing to say, not a goddamn thing to say about it. And like you said, it has nothing to do with the budget process anyways. Social Security had over a $3 trillion surplus, which the government has had to borrow, and not because the government spends too much, but because our revenues are at an all-time low, because the Republican psychopaths pay 4% and 11% in taxes. It takes at least 12% just to pay for the necessities like roads and schools and policemen and firemen and things like that to keep a city running, and they're not. So that's the problem, okay? I hope I've answered most of your questions. If you had heard me a few years ago, my rant would have sounded much like yours. Now I'm trying to use facts so that I can get the public to understand and not be so gullible and put the right people in office. And there are congressmen in office that talk exactly like you. You might check out Alan Grayson, Bernstein, and there's got to be at least 20. So we're out there, and the ones that are out there many times have to tone themselves down, or they'll get voted out of office, or they'll get fired, and that's because the public doesn't know the facts I just presented you. Okay, thanks for making it through my very first video. If you have any comments, please do say them. And we need fighters. You're a fighter. I like that. If you knew some facts, maybe you would fight with us so that we can get the things you want, I want, and progressives want. Thank you.